Christina Coleman, who is the founder of Christina Coleman Coaching. She is a transformation life coach, and I have known her for a while now. We met back in March when she came to a women's event that I held at Florida Vita Women's Wellness in Verona, New Jersey. And you have to hear Christina's story, her offerings that she has of one-on-one coaching, some upcoming events, places where she's looking to expand and grow her business and collaborations. So Christina, can you tell us a little bit how you got into becoming a transformation life coach and what that entails?
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to. And what I'll start by sharing, because I know a lot of people, they're like transformational life coaching, like, what are you talking about? So just to give you a short little clip of what that looks like is it goes a lot deeper than maybe if you were to go see like a mindset coach or strategy or business coaching or something like that. So it's really about like getting to the root of whatever's holding you back so that you can start stepping into your dreams and what you're wanting in a more aligned way versus like yo-yoing back and forth between what you want and then fearing it, what you want and then fearing it. And I work on a lot of deep different levels with people. So we can get more into that later. But just to give people an idea, transformational life coaching is really about like the deep work, clearing it at the root so you don't keep having to play out like the same patterns and behaviors and things that you're trying to change. And so, with how I got into this journey, like I shared with you the other day, I actually wanted to be a life coach since I was like 13 years old, and I'm 30 years old now. And at the time, life coaching wasn't really a thing. So, I got made fun of for that a little bit. People looked at me like I had three heads. They were like, "What are you talking about? You want to be a life coach?" And because of that, like young and impressionable, I kind of pivoted and I was like, okay, I'll do psychology. I'll become a neuropsychiatrist. And I got a lot of positive feedback from that. That was more widely accepted. And so I had all these big dreams. That's really the point. I had these big dreams. I knew I wanted to help people ever since I was little. I loved just listening and being there for people. And then when I turned 17, I actually got kicked out of my house. And the really sad thing about that was by like society standards, I was like the good kid, like straight A's, good grades, never really got in trouble. And it was mostly just because my dad was in a lot of pain. So he was really angry and he didn't really know how to like emotionally regulate. And when he lashed out one day, it resulted in me having to leave the home. And then I spent my last year in high school like living with friends and their families, which was such a gift. And I was so blessed for that. But I was feeling like really lost and really stuck. And I was so young and I had all these dreams. And I was like, how am I going to do any of this now? And that's when I like pivoted again. And then I decided to go into the military. I joined the Air Force because I was like, this is a way for me to not be a burden to other people, to be able to take care of myself and to be able to still like get my degree in psychology and follow that dream. And I did end up getting my degree, but the what really brought me back around full circle to life coaching was the misalignment that happened before it. Because the military, while it served me well, it was not a fit for me. It was really out of alignment, and that misalignment really trickled over into other areas of my life, like romantic relationships, for example. And this is one of the key points in my story because when I turned like 20, so I was still a baby, and I got married, and I married someone who was just like my dad. He was also in a lot of pain, hadn't really done any of his own work, and couldn't emotionally regulate and was very angry and had some of those same like abusive tendencies that my dad had. And all of this together, the combination of all of this misalignment really is what brought me to like a really strong breaking point where I just noticed my life, where I was in my career, where I was in my relationship with someone who was mistreating me. And I like finally pushed myself to leave that relationship, which was really hard and really scary. And I knew it would be hard when I did it. And it took a lot for me to do that, but it was bad. And I reached this breaking point where I didn't really want to live anymore because it was so hard. And that was huge for my journey because I am not like that at all. I love life. I have so much vibrancy. So I was like, if I can get to the point where I feel this way, oh my God, how many people must feel this way? And I wanted to do something about it. And then I noticed, and this will serve because maybe people can relate. It's like, then I noticed after that breaking point, I kept repeating a lot of the same patterns of misalignment. Like I kept unconsciously, unintentionally choosing partners that mistreated me or had certain abusive characteristics and tendencies, which brought me to my second breaking point, which is what catapulted me into this, because I like ended up with somebody else mistreating me again, and I hit this point and I was like, why does this keep happening? Like, what is going on here? And that is when I just dove into my own personal development, like every book, every podcast, every YouTube video you could imagine. I was reading everything because I was like, I have to figure out why this is happening. I don't want this to happen anymore. And when I got to the root of all of it, this is so common for so many people, which is why I'm sharing it. I just realized that the whole time I didn't think I was good enough. And that's why I was accepting so much mistreatment and just going through the motions and being in survival mode versus doing what I really wanted and advocating for what I really deserved. And I wanted to be loved so bad that I just put up with so much shit. And I didn't realize at those young, tender ages that I was the love I was looking for the whole time. And it sounds really cliche, but it's so true. It's like breaking the pattern of looking for anything outside of you to give you everything you can give yourself. And that part of the story is so important because it's what pushed me to come all the way back around full circle to that little 13-year-old version of me that was like, I want to be a life coach and I want to help people. And then like it just clicked one day and I was like, it's time. And I dove all the way into it and there was no going back. And now I get to help people transform not only in the ways I did, but in so many different ways because everybody has their own version of their story and what their transformation gets to look like. So yeah, it's just been a gift ever since then.
Which is so beautiful. I think it can either be the scariest thought or the most comforting thought. The fact that most likely a lot of your behaviors, if they're not serving you, have a root. And that root can sometimes be pretty gnarly. And it can be something that maybe you simply don't want to address and you don't want to look at because it is so scary or it is so sad or whatever it is. But the human life, like suffering is inevitable, right? Like sadness is inevitable, just like happiness is also inevitable. We get to have both. But
Mhm.
I think that it's so beautiful that you sat down and you said, you know what? Instead of continuing on in these cycles, I'm going to address the root
Mhm.
because that is how I can solve this. And the most important part is that it's not like once and for all. It's
Mhm.
solve it in the first iteration because then so many other iterations of it come as you like ascend and as you grow and as you learn. So what were some of those first steps that you took when you decided I'm going to solve this? This is it for
Mhm.
like I'm done with this suffering. I'm done with this level of life that I thought that I deserved. I know I deserve more. So, what were some of those things that you sought out, those books or those podcasts that really helped you change the narrative and introduced new thoughts and new possibilities to you?
Yeah, I love that question so much because I feel like a lot of the times people don't really know where to start. And, some of the things that really helped me, like I dove into a lot of relationship specific type of stuff because that was the area that was screaming the loudest at me. But if anyone wants, like, I want to just give this resource right away. Like Matthew Hussey, he's fantastic. He has a podcast, he's written a few books as well. So if relationships specifically are a little bit of a struggle for you, he was really helpful to me. But instead of like, I'm happy to give a list of names and all that to anybody if they want to reach out to me. But I think one of the most important things to capture here with how I got started is it's like you have to find what lands and what resonates with you. Because I found a lot of surface level stuff and it just didn't click for me. So once I found the people, the books that landed, that's what allowed me to really catapult forward. Like, I'm a Jay Shetty certified coach. His work really helped me. His book, Think Like a Monk, it was fantastic because it really had me like starting to think deeper and question a lot of my beliefs and my thoughts. And it was actually because of his book that I was able to get to the root and realized that, oh, you don't think you're good enough. So your flavor might not be the same as mine, but just research, shop around, see what you can find is the advice I would give people. But like the most important thing for me that I can share is just that I tried everything. I was so willing. And that's what I say to anyone who is thinking about working with me or another coach, it's like, are you open-minded? And are you willing to really look at yourself and take personal responsibility and get curious about your life and you and where you are and your patterns and your behaviors? And that's why it worked for me, because I was willing to come out of like that almost like victim mindset a little bit. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in like, why does this keep happening to me versus, oh, I keep allowing this. Something within me is calling this in. Does it mean it's my fault I was mistreated? No. But it does mean that a part of me is in vibrational alignment with that and I'm allowing it. So the personal responsibility is everything. So that's a bit of what I would share, but I also cannot advocate enough for one more name I really want to share on here is Alyssa Nobriga. So it's not on my profile yet, but I'm just completing her coaching certification program too. So I'm double certified now. I'm completing her program next week. And her work, Alyssa Nobriga, it is so powerful. It is so deep. And it has been like such a special gift and honor to learn her mastery method of coaching in this last year, because it's literally all about what I always felt aligned to, the whole going to the root. So, of whatever the habits and behaviors and patterns are that you're playing out. So you don't have to keep perpetuating those unconsciously. So it's been fantastic to find that work too, because the last thing I'll share is, as any type of, and I'm sure you can relate to this, as any type of like healer or coach, it's so our job to be in integrity and to do our own work first, because it's like I can only meet my clients as far as I've met myself. Does that mean we have to have gone through all the same exact things? Or if you're looking to, hit the specific goal, I don't have to have done everything you've done, but it's like I have to have met myself in every single way. Because it's like if you're coming to me with a pattern of procrastination and I haven't looked at my own procrastination, there's only so much I'm going to be able to help you. And that's the key when you're looking to get into this work in any capacity and get support, is like, is the person you're taking on to work with you, whether it's a therapist or a coach, have they done their own work first? Because they're only going to be able to meet you as far as they've met themselves.
Which is beautiful. We were just talking about this yesterday at an event by Paul Oscar Ramirez, Generation Fearless, which gathers together first generation professionals who are Latinas and who are navigating what life looks like to work full time, to have your graduate degree. It's various nuances. And that's exactly what one of the presenters said, is that as she started her business, she started hiring on all these coaches that simply couldn't understand and then also didn't want to understand her background, right? So how you were raised and what you were told has to do with how you build your business, what you charge, who you work with, and how you build your life is so centered off of how you were taught. Like how were you taught to build life? What were you taught about yourself? It's almost like life is one giant self-fulfilling prophecy. And you either decide that what someone else said about you is true, or you decide, hey, that isn't in like that isn't in the same frequency of what I believe about myself. I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to trust that that person, had the best of intentions, but it was most likely coming from themselves and mirroring. And for those that are sitting here like, okay, how do I know if I'm ready for a life coach? Like, should I have gone through something? Should I be ready to be going through something?
Mhm.
What are some signs? And then how do you work with your clients in a one-on-one capacity?
Yeah, yeah. So one thing I want to make clear to people too is that you don't have to be in the depths of your darkest moments to start doing some of this work. And if you are, then yes, that could be a sign that this is for you. If things are feeling kind of low or stuck, or like maybe you feel like you're in autopilot, kind of going through the motions, or you want more for yourself, but you're not sure where to get started or how to even get there. Maybe you're not even clear on what you want, but you want more. Those are some small signs for sure, but one thing I would really emphasize to people is your life doesn't have to be chaos for you to dive into coaching, right? So it can be proactive rather than reactive. And I so lovingly try to suggest that to people right out of the gate. Like, let's do this before something goes bad, before something goes wrong, because then it's like you're going to have this whole beautiful arsenal of tools to fall back on when things do go bad. So I can't emphasize enough, be proactive. But unfortunately, I find that most people have to hit up against something big before they're compelled enough to change. So that is what I find. So for anyone listening to this, even if you feel good, just question. It's like, am I good right now? But would I like to go to great? Are there any areas in my life where I could use some refinement or some fine tuning? Is there any area in my life where maybe I just threw a band-aid on that, or I blocked it out or numbed it out and I think I'm fine, but maybe I'm actually not? And then ask yourself, like, are you willing to take personal responsibility and look at that? And again, I mean that with so much love. None of this is about force. It's just about flow. And you'll find once you're willing to really look at yourself, that's when your entire life will change. So if you're wanting to change your life, change your relationships, change the course of your career right now, your financial situation, the transformational coaching can apply to any of that. It's not like a cookie cutter thing, like you can only go in there to bawl your eyes out and cry and do deep work. Like that's part of it. But the deep work that we do is in service to whatever your goal is, whatever your vision is. And you get to decide that. I don't decide any of that for you. What I tell people is I just open the door and it's your choice whether or not to walk through it. And I would love it if more people walked through it before they were in terrible pain. But hopefully, me sharing that will even help at least one person move forward into this before they're in a bad place. So, yeah.
Yes. And maybe for those that are in that in between moment of like, I think that I'm ready, but I'm not ready. Do you have any upcoming events or any future collaborations that you're open to that we can throw out there to anyone that's watching?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually have a really, really beautiful event coming up with my dear friend Ananda on December 30th in Highland Lakes at her home. So it's going to be a really beautiful, just small, intimate event of 10 people, men and women. Anybody can come to this. I I'm like so open to everyone doing this work. So that event is really going to be like reflecting in a beautiful, mindful way about 2023 and then starting to use some of those reflections in service to the vision of what you're wanting to create in the new year in 2024. And like it sounds cliche, but it's like setting those resolutions. Like I think like 90% of people don't, they quit after like a month. It's some crazy statistic like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's something really high like that. And it's like, how can we start setting that foundation for you to actually start creating what you want? And the event is going to be really beautiful. So lots of visioning, a lot of reflecting, and then Ananda is going to guide everyone through a gorgeous, just like sound bath and breath work process to kind of integrate all of what we did for the visioning on a deeper level. So it's going to be so beautiful. And I have the information for that posted on my Instagram and also in my bio. And people can just message me if they have questions. But in terms of collaborations, I'm so open to everything because the whole point is just getting this work out there and helping people heal and helping people create the lives they want. So whether it's someone is looking to host an event and wants to bring more people into it. I'm so open to hosting events with people, to speaking at events, doing podcasts, and just facilitating and sharing this work in whatever ways feel aligned to me and whoever I talk to. So yeah, that's the most recent event that people can look out for. I also know you asked what it looks like to work with me otherwise, and I didn't answer. Do you want me to answer that now? Okay. Okay, yeah, so right now, I'm just taking on one-to-one clients. I do groups, so if you're interested in kind of being held in that type of container, healing with a group of people, which is so beautiful, I can't recommend that more, I can, get you on the wait list for my next group, but right now, I'm just taking on one-to-one clients, and what that looks like kind of depends. So because, again, I'm not about cookie cutter approaches, I'm about, like, sitting down and talking to the person in front of me and really creating something that makes sense for them. But I typically do start with like a 6-month package for people because it's a really good amount of time to not only build awareness, but then move into some of that healing work that can be required so that you can take the aligned action towards your goals and your dreams and your vision. And that really looks like we meet once a week and you have some off weeks just to kind of integrate so you can take some breaks and like tune into everything we've been doing so far. But that's really the general outline of what it looks like. I can share more details with whoever's actually interested, but the most important thing to get out of it is when you do a package with me, if you show up for it. If you show up for it, it'll change your life. And I can say that with full confidence. So it's the transformation you're getting beside rather than hearing all the buttons and whistles of what's included. It's like if you show up for it and you're willing to be open-minded, it'll change your life. And that's what everyone needs to know.
And it's so beautiful when you decide to say, I'm ready. Like it's such a beautiful moment. And I almost feel that there's nothing that can get in your way. When you show up, you make an investment in yourself and you say, no, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to insert whatever it is. I'm ready to transform. I know that I was made for more. I know that I was meant for more. And I think that life is so beautiful. And this is also why I love stories, because I've met so many people who you see them at the top, right? At their prime. And you don't realize they suffered with the same exact things that you did too. But they decided every time they encountered that wall, instead of sitting next to it, they were like, let me find someone else behind me or in front of me or next to me that can help me lift myself up over this wall. And then there's another one. And then there's another one. Like life is like just this video game. You pass one level and then there's 20 more to go within the same year. Getting a network together, getting resources, getting someone like Christina on your side who attends some of her events, follow her, see what her work is all about, and then decide to say, you know what, you're going to be on my team because I know that I need someone to fill the work that you do is going to really help me as I'm growing, because we know that especially in business, we deal with relationships in all different forms of like all different types of levels and all different forms. And then in life, we deal with relationships. And if you're someone who's like, I'm ready to rewrite my own story, I have the pen in my hand now and I'm ready, please contact Christina. Where can they find you across socials? And then I'll also make sure to tag the link for that December 30th event in Highland Lakes, New Jersey. But where can they find you?
Thank you. Yeah. So the best place to find me is Instagram. I use it the most, to be honest. Like, you don't need to hear, but Facebook, like I'm having issues with my Instagram and Facebook linking. But the best way to contact me is definitely on Instagram. On the link in my bio, I have a application that you can fill out, and you can also just DM me if you want to have a conversation. And after you fill out the application, we'll just set up a free consultation because I want to make sure that anybody that reaches out to me, like I know sometimes people need to dip their toe in, sometimes they're scared, sometimes they're not sure. And I really want people to know that I'm here to hold you through that part. And it's not about convincing you to do it or convincing you to say yes. It's about me kind of holding that frame for you of like, does this actually make sense for you right now? Because maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does. And if you're nervous or anything's coming up for you, just know that there's no pressure. I'm going to hold you through the decision. And even if it's a no, if you reach out to me and you land on no, hell yeah, I love your clarity that it's a no. So the application is in my bio, and then I can also have my email, and then yeah, and just a message on Instagram. That's the easiest way. Yeah.
Yay. Thank you so much, Christina. You have such beautiful words. The work that you do with people is so needed. So thank you so much for joining me today to go live.
Thank you so much.